breakdown. Ready, boys?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it. I've not seen any sign of him.
He's
Giant's
dead.
busy getting shot at.
Oh. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's shoot this fucker. All right. 3, 2, 1. Have no fear, everyone. We've been gone after a long period of time in the month of June, but just like Brave Exvius, we have a 30-year plan as well. It's episode 4 of InterVisions today, and today I am joined by some wonderful co-hosts. Today we have both Rindell and Minute Hour making their return. So welcome, boys. How are you doing? Let's get in with the introductions and start off with Rindell. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's actually I'm Canadian and it was Canada Day yesterday, so day off today. Pretty good day. Did some board games. So yeah, overall pretty good mood. What about
Excellent.
you, Minute?
I am doing great. I got to leave work early today. Got a long weekend. My kids are coming over in the morning, and I'll have them through Tuesday. So gonna enjoy part of the summer.
Excellent. That's great, guys. Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing well in the real world. But of course, this is a WOTV show, so we have to ask, how was things this week in War of the Vision? So, Rindell, how about you? How was it, buddy?
I have been waiting for this week for a super long time. And no, I'm not talking about Zazan, I'm talking about Freyevia EX. She was the unit that made me move from a free-to-play player to a paying one. And I'm like, been playing her in FFBE. I've been using her in Global for the first season of class matches. And that was not because she was good. So that just gives you an idea of how much I was looking forward to her EX job. So I've just been a lot, it was super fun figuring out how to use her and how strong she's actually become.
Ah, that's good. We have a Frivia expert. I will need to ask some questions because I actually do really like her, but I've never been convinced of her power. So we have an expert today. That's excellent.
I can chat on a long time about that.
Nice. And how about you, Minute? How was your week in WOTV?
So I wouldn't call myself a Fravia expert, but I too have been looking forward to Fravia EX for a very long time. Fravia was sort of my first 5-star unit that was meta and OP from FFBE back in the day, and I used her for so long. And when she came to this game, I was so excited. I pulled on her banner with everything I had before I was a big spender, and did not get her. And then she came around again, and I pulled with everything I had, and did not get her. And this last time, when she came back with Duane, I did finally manage to get her. She was completely power crept at the time, and so I really was like, do I even build this? But I did, and at the time we had all of the Global Festival medals, and it was right before EX jobs dropped, and the shop stayed open through the launch of EX. And so I dumped all of my medals into Mind Spheres for her. So I had her Mind Spheres, 360 Mind Spheres for Fravia before this week even started. That's
Wow.
how excited I was for Fravia.
I
So
officially tip
by
my
the time
hat.
I finished pulling for Zazan and had gotten a Duane along the way, I was basically sitting at 360 Mind Spheres for Duane and for Avia, and just need to do a couple days worth of guild pulls to finish them off. So this is a good week for me.
Wow. I am happy to hear that because you know what? Sometimes it's not about whether or not the unit's the most powerful, it's just what makes you happy, and that's really great. And even though it sounds like Rivia is better than I think, but for myself this week, kind of a rough week to be totally honest. This week was the launch of Oberon, who, as a unit, I have been waiting for a while, and I love the Hinder Nation, and the Hinder Nation is going to be the ones that I am representing the most, and my pulls were a frickin' disaster. It was a salt mine. Literally going to pity on it. This one hurt more than others just because of the whole idea of every once in a while, and I don't know if people really understand this what I'm about to say, but that feeling of that one character you really, really want, and you know the odds are bad. You know the odds are bad, but you just kind of hope that things are going to be a little bit less of a disaster, and that was not the case. So
I mean, you had to pull for your twin, right?
I really did. If I
Oh
didn't
man,
get him,
so true.
he he does look more than a little like me. The cosplay might be coming in the future. We'll see how much time I have in the next little bit. All right, so shall we get into it, boys? Because I know it's the long weekend. By the way, just going to give a shout out to Happy Canada Day, Happy 4th of July for our American viewers as well, and every other country that is celebrating something that I don't know about. Apologies. Let's get right into it. There you go. There's your Canadian. All right, so let's get in with the quick chat. So, starting off with the JP side, we have the beginning of July and always a look forward into what Global will be getting. So, Globalers, I'd like to get their opinions on it. So, July content this month, we got the Beach units, we got Oberyn, and we got EX Celir and Adelard, to say the least. So, what are you guys' thoughts on the JP side stuff? Start with Minute this time. Go for it.
So I don't know what to expect on the JP side, but I will say it hasn't gone missed that the current event on the global side is only 2 weeks long, and we're expecting the beach units in JP in 2 weeks. And so I have a feeling that that will be coming to global sooner rather than later at this point, probably at about the same time with the EX jobs. And so I'm excited to see what happens there. And I think there's also going to be a lot more drama on Reddit when it happens.
Yeah, they probably. What about the EXs? Are you interested in either of them, or interested in maybe getting Oberyn? I mean, no pressure. I mean, I understand that he is just the best character
So, so,
ever.
so I think the most exciting thing about Oberon for a lot of people is that Eileen has a pretty big following on the global side, and so the fact that he's getting an Earth Spear to go with him, I think is going to have folks like Oran J absolutely freaking out, which will be fun to watch.
Yeah, but Orin's not here, so as far as I know, he hates Eileen. Just hi Orin, how's it going, bud? How about you, Rindo? What are your thoughts on JP's content this month?
First of all, Abram is awesome. I totally side with you. His kit is super unique, and generally that's what I focus on when I like new things. And that's the reason why I'm so thrilled for the Beach unit, especially Summer Lilith. She's a Missile Earth unit, so kind of fits with Oberon with that. So I'm expecting them to give her a good EX just so people invest into her and spend a little bit more. And then for players that might not know, even today in Global, we still don't have a unit that can actually reduce missile resistance, and Summer Lilith does that. I'm really hoping we get her because it brings something that just doesn't exist for us right now. So I would be thrilled to get that in Global, but I think her rerun, since she was a time limited, and as far as I know, she was only available once in JP history, will be a really good thing. It will make that type of mechanic more available to players in general. Summer Ketone I like as well, but she doesn't have anything that's really doesn't exist anywhere else, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, she has a little more synergy now with Rain's EX, and she has a little more synergy because of special glassy and whatnot. But Summer Lilith is kind of interesting just to see, because I assume that they'll be getting global exclusive buffs, and this is maybe something more to chat in the global quick chats. But um, like next week, I assume that we're getting an Oberyn card, because that's usually been the trend. There was a Jaden card last month. Probably going to be an Oberyn card that's going to be pretty powerful for Earth units. So Earth is on the rise, which is kind of nice because feels like we haven't gotten a lot of Earth units in. Like they just haven't gotten too much. So, but
So, so I'll add that assuming we get Summer Lilith here in about 2 weeks, I don't think it's a coincidence that the JP is dropping their first 100 cost Earth unit, followed by what's probably going to be an Earth card. Right around the same time, Global's dropping, hey, look at another attack based 100 cost Earth unit. And you all know Cloud is right around the corner, and you're going to need some way to counter him when he shows up, and Charlotte as well. So it definitely feels a little bit like what we talked about before of Global sort of taking advantage of our look at the future to mess with the schedule and try to get some additional polls out of people.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
definitely possible.
I made a video about this week that I feel like there's a little bit of market manipulation for globalers, where they're effectively selling you guys solutions to problems that aren't even problems for you. Where it's like, look at this new Earth character that's so great against other physical units. Hint, hint, and it's just like,
I mean, let's be honest. The best example of that was Dwayne being released before Yuna existed. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
exactly it.
yeah. And what's gonna happen with the? I mean, Tifa still exists, but does anyone want to take a bet right now? Next month, 100 cost wind unit from the OS Nation.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that, right? I think they're making Earth stronger, and they're going to need a way to make Wind stronger. Um,
Yeah. It would also
and
make
I think
sense. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that, and I think they're also trying to, right? Like one of the fire is so strong right now that ice is suffering, and so buffing winds is a way to make people use more ice as well. And I think we're also about to see a bit of an ice push between Salir and Fravia, and what I suspect will be the Fravia VC next week.
Yeah. Rindell?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going, saying if they do 100 cost wind, then it opens up a room for 100 cost ice following on that. And it keeps being a counter to the most recent problem. So it's really easy to get people to keep needing those units.
Yep. All right. With that, that's a good place to segue over to global chats. So this week we saw the introduction of Zazin UR, the unit that became a meme, then a dream, then a bigger meme, then won a voting contest, then became a super unit. And what a roller coaster of a ride it's been. Us on the JP side, we just picked Glassy. It was easy for us. No memes or dreams whatsoever. And then we got this thing this week where basically a lot of limited time units just caused a little bit of a scuffle that we're going to talk more about, but want to get some quick opinions on the limited time stuff. And we kind of talked about beach units, so which I assume are going to be limited. So let's, Rindell, what's your thoughts on global this week?
Well, I did make a whole reaction video about it, so I guess I don't want to go too deep into it. But I'm a little bit saddened that we did not get Zanyuar as a permanent pool unit, just because of what it means to have a collaboration like fan vote unit, which should be kind of a celebration for the community more than a time limited stuff. But outside of that, I'm kind of thrilled to see Dwayne and Friedia come back because it gives a lot of opportunities for people to build them back, which is pretty good. And then now that we have the barracks and whatnot, even if you don't max them during the period, it's pretty interesting. I am a little bit afraid of what Dwayne might bring to the meta because he was already super strong with Black Witch Helena, and I know that's part of the Hell Month that we've seen in JP side. But hey, I'll have to fight him and learn a little bit more about their kit before that happens. I will say one more thing that was pointed out in the comments and is very true is that Zazam UR is super well designed. Like super cool limit break animation, unique kit. There's a lot of cool mechanics. It fits the character, but it also brings some nice things like trying to attack from behind, which we haven't seen a lot so far. So I think there's while I'm not that big of a fan of a decision of releasing it as a time limited unit, I really like what they did with the unit itself.
Okay. Minute, how about you?
Yeah, so I'll chime in and say that, right? Like, let's be honest here, right? Zazan from the story, and our version of Zazan was really just like a joke and not a serious unit at all. Um, and I like what they've done with him, right? Like, especially like the character design, like they've sort of embraced the meme a little bit, but also like given him a bit more of a like serious tone in his design that actually makes him look cool instead of just Mimi. Um, and so he's a very different design than like a lot of like the waifus and stuff that we typically see in this game. So I really like that. That being said, I do think he's potentially a bit of a niche unit. He's got a lot of abilities that seem like they'll be really good in manual play, but I really wonder to make him work well in an auto system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. As a avid manual player, I guess I see his kit and it's like it's a dream. But on Odo, I struggle to know how his AI will actually leverage that. I don't even know if the Odo uses attacks from behind, aside from hit chance in their calculations. So, guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think the other thing for the auto piece is right. He's got four move, which is fantastic, but he always has four move, and he only has buffs that are self buffs. And so this guy is a missile. He's charging straight in there. You're not going to get him to hang back and do any sort of prep with the rest of the team. And then he's got that jump move that also like gets him further into the fray. And so I really see him just sort of like being like old school Venera was and being this like sort of suicide projectile unit.
Yeah. And from my understanding from some people I've talked with, is that his AI prioritizes bells primarily and then his auto re-raise. But it is a problem with his kit where essentially he is solo focused. So he like you said, he will get about one buff in, but I think his high mobility is actually more of a detriment to his kit. He's actually too good, and that's going to be a problem going forward, I think, for him. Deadly in manual though. But I guess since she's on the poster, we should also talk a little bit about her. Rivia, I want your guys' impressions because this is something I have not really heard anybody talk about too much this week, and I want my two experts here to just give me the rundown. So, Minute, you go first. I did call you an expert, so hi.
So I will say I think Randall's probably more excited about Frivia's place in the meta than I am. Um, I think she's certainly an awesome unit. I'm not sure she's gonna thrive too well in the current meta just because fire is still so common, right? Like I feel like she's still gonna get eaten by King Mont pretty badly, right? If she's your tank and you're running like Fravia, Helena, Duane, or something into like Mont, Helena, Duane, or like anything comparable, I think you're gonna lose because I think she's gonna get beat by Mont. Um, that being said, like if we can get something in global where they can get like wind really going strong somehow, I think you'll see a really good place for her. She's got lots of HP. She's got a TP based hate skill. She's got ways to buff her stats. She can get really high both slash and magic resist now. The only thing I feel like that's really limiting her besides the fire in the meta is if she's limited in where she can get slash from that synergizes with her other stats, right? There aren't a lot of slash resist espers that are going to be boosting other things you want to boost on her. And so what I'm actually really hoping is that if her VC drops next week, it's got party slash resist on it. That's my big hope is party slash resist with like magic buff for ice units to synergize really well with freezes. So that's what I'd like to see.
All right, and now to our other expert, Rindell. Also, tell us
Uh,
what you hope for the vision card too.
Yeah, first of all, I have to say what Minute said for the vision card is exactly the thing she needs. My hope for the vision card is that if she equips the vision card, she gets Frost Flower Blitz. I want to see that move in War of the Visions. It was like her iconic FFBE move. If she gets that, I don't care what else the vision card has. But in terms of her place in the meta, I think Minute touched the one thing. Like I've been using her in Arena quite a bit. She is a powerhouse, but she does struggle against King Mont for several reasons. Kingmon has a disable he can land. He can reduce healing, which is also really bad. He's fire, and he can berserk. She's a high faith tank, so she's susceptible to all those status effects really much. And then the damage Kingmon does, not a big deal. Freya can easily get to 70% and up in terms of slash resistance, so she can deal with him in terms of damage, but he can easily shut her down. As a healer, and that's the one thing she has that's unique that other tanks don't really have is the fact that she can both tank and heal. So if you take that away, she's worse than Warrior of Light. She's worse than King Mont in terms of how much she can tank, just because she's more of a specialized tank. So while she has limitations, she's really good. And then the one thing I learned yesterday that just drove me crazy about it is the fact that her new ability, Spell Veil Blade, when she uses it, gives her 20 defense and spirit, which is cool, but that can actually stack up to 3 times. So if you manage her AI so that she spams that, she can have a total of plus 60 defense and spirit and just run around as an unkillable tank.
That
So
is
I think if
crazy.
you
I
can
did not know that.
yeah, if you
Wow.
can set her AI well, and I've made it so in a couple matches where she just spams that and then uses the full life ones and then keeps spamming that, and at that point she becomes good. So it's an interesting scenario. I think it's the first time we have a unit like that where the longer the fight goes on, the more tanky they get until the turns wear out.
Hmm. That's interesting. I think we're gonna have to revisit this. I'm gonna need you guys both back on a special in 1 month, the Frivia InterVisions special. Once we have the vision card and we see everything, and also uh, maybe they'll give the Laswell card a little bit of a boost to her as well. Maybe, but all of that could be very interesting, and we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to our next segment because quick chats are just that, quick chats. And we're not having a Coliseum this month. We're going to mix it up a little bit. If anybody hasn't seen an Intervisions before, I cannot decide on any segments that are actually permanently named. So here we are. This is going to be a game time. Kill that character. All right. So I thought it would be a little bit fun with the moniker of Zazin the Unkillable this time to kill that character and how to do it. So I've given the guys a team, an enemy team of Yuna, Zazin, and Mont. One of the teams I thought would be the most annoying teams to maybe fight in a PvP just in terms of how durable that team is. And I want the guys using a manual setting, and you can even borrow characters that are out on the JP side if you know any that would help with this. Any EXs on the JP side or anything like that. How do you kill this team? That's the question this time. So, who would like to go first today?
I think I've got a pretty solid strategy against these guys, to be honest.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so a key character would be to be. First of all, she's Wind Element, which means she's fairly durable against the sun. With her Vision card, she has some decent spirits, so even a Limit Break from Yuna cannot one-shot her. It can get her pretty low, but not a one-shot. And then she can give AoE slash and slash resistance and Berserk and Disabled Immunity, which basically protects you against the Berserk Bomb from King Mont and the backstab berserk, backstab disable from Zazan. So you have like your defensive side covered just by having to be in. Then you probably want Gilgamesh, and I know he doesn't fare too well against Mont, but since he can remove slash resistance on a bunch of guys, he's going to enable to be quite a bit. Then to be could potentially use her healing down ability to reduce Yuna's healing a little bit as well. So these two characters would really be core. then I guess for the last character, you want somebody that can take out Mont a little bit more easily, or perhaps deal with the evasion from Zazan. So you bring somebody like Black Witch Helena or Luel, and you're set. Like that team is going to fare pretty well. There's not enough damage on the enemy team, I think, to take these guys out. Especially if you can make sure that Tubi's fighting Zazan, and then Gilgamesh is in front of whoever else, you're fine. Zazan just needs to avoid getting in front of Gilgamesh and taking him out too early.
All right, that's a heck of a plan and a strategy. Now, Minute, it's your turn. Tell us, what do you think your team?
So I have a question on the rules.
Okay.
Am I allowed to use any of those units?
You are. The rules are there are no rules. You just have to kill that team.
Okay. Now, is that team also being played manual, or are they running on auto?
They are manual.
Okay. In that case, Tubi is the obvious answer here, right? Because it's just an easy way to deal with Zazan, and like there's no other way to counter Earth right now, right? There's no other wind units are relevant. So absolutely Tubi. And then I've been running so confession time. I've been lazy in guild battles, and I've been running a 3-month-old meta team of Oran, Gilgamesh, and Yuna for a while. And there's nothing that would make me think it is a good idea to run Gilgamesh into King Hunt.
Okay.
Based on 3 months of experience here, I basically look for the teams that don't have King Mont on them. And they are getting fewer and fewer between, and that's why I'm a little worried about Fryavia. So I wouldn't go the Gilgamesh route. I'd probably do 2B Yuna myself, just to have a healer option, and Helena.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's interesting. Let me make one more case in this specific team for Gilgamesh. Both Zazan and Yuna can give free raise. So by bringing in Gilgamesh, if you can manage to avoid King Mont, you don't have to kill these guys that many times, which is the main reason I was thinking of bringing him in as well.
That is a good point. I'm just thinking of like the times my Gilgamesh has gone and been like Kotetsu plus, and King Mont's like 300 damage, and I'm like, ugh.
I've seen that. It's very true.
All right. So those are some good teams. I personally, I am once again not just going to be the one responsible for this. We're actually going to open it up to Twitch chat. Give them about 10 minutes, and they are going to be choosing who they thought killed Zazan's team better. So that is up to you guys in Twitch chat. Please do your vote. You have about 10 minutes. You can think about it a little bit, but Rindell or Minute Hour, who do you think? Personally, I don't know. This is not a JP problem yet. I've thought a little bit about this unit, and I don't know if re-raise would be quite the problem, but I kind of want to use maybe Velouche, who's a new JP unit that's the Wind Slash type. Get him a little bit in there because he might be a little bit of an oddball choice for the JP side. Gilgamesh just for removing re-raise, because there's no way that people aren't going to spam the re-raise. And then after that, I don't know. I think you are Mont and kind of maybe lean on the side that Berserk might be just good enough for it. Just go on the luck approach of trying to take out a couple of units for a few turns and not make them a problem. But part of me also wants to put in Glassy with her EX, because killing UR Mont with Glassy just sounds appropriate. I don't know. That's just me, though.
Yeah, so I will say that if we were going to be really serious about this with manual play, the proper answer here is probably 2B with Double Quicken.
Double Quicken? So, like Ramir as well as Phoebe, and just let her go?
Yeah, just let her drop the Yuna and the Zazan before they can do anything, and your team will clean up King Mount from there because he can't stand on his own.
Yeah, no, in a manual setup, I'm not changing my answer. I already have to be. I already have one Quicken with Gilgamesh, and then Noelle has her own AoE agility buff that gives some AP, or can use her own version of Keenblade that increases her own CT so she can get a couple turns in. I think I've got a well-rounded team, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think both of you had good answers. I mean, you could have chosen also a very classy answer of like Victora and just charm the enemy, and then you're done, and they're all just killing each other. Like that's fine. But
Yeah, chat
yeah,
thinks we should have picked Ziza and just charmed the Mons and had him berserk everyone.
that,
Charm?
they're
Oh, he's not unit
self-destruction.
charm. They finally didn't release a meta unit that has charm immunity. Kind of happy to see that.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. There is no good answers, but there are answers, and that is always a interesting point. So let's move on to our. We have two main topics this time. I really wanted to choose one, but I feel like there are two very big topics to talk about this week for both, uh, and both in the same kind of theme of just both versions being in trouble right now. So, yeah, here's the thing. So this week for on the Japanese version, Gumi and Square Enix have gotten in a big amount of trouble over the 1 year gotcha banners. If you remember back at the time, the 1 year anniversary banners were found to have a very distinct uh, way that they were dropping not like polls essentially. Lots of people were getting the exact same polls, and at the time they basically apologized. They returned all of the paid and non-paid lapis that people spent on those banners, and basically that was supposed to be it. But I guess it was raised to on here in Japan there is a group that actually monitors this stuff. I think it's like a governmental group that looks after this and makes sure that the laws are being followed for gotcha games. And to just this week, it was announced by this group that Square Enix and Gumi had violated the terms of gotcha laws here in Japan, and that the banners were completely not properly done. And basically, there wasn't really any fines that I'm aware of. It's essentially a warning, but it was a warning broadcast essentially over Japan by a government or by an official group about gotchas. And gotchas are a pretty normal thing for people to be playing here. And I'm curious about what you guys think about the future for WOTV on the Japanese side, both within terms of reputation, which is a big thing here in Japan, and just in general what you guys think for the global side for this company essentially. So who Minute, would you like to go first?
Sure, I can go first. So I don't know too much about the mechanics of gotchas. I know there was some talk back when this happened about like conveyor belt gotchas, and I think some of the rulings sort of covered like making sure that polls are independent, etc. So I'm a little curious if that's going to have like sort of a impact on any other companies that maybe use a similar type of system that maybe wasn't quite as egregious and haven't been caught yet, where maybe they'll be a little more cautious going forward. And I don't know, I don't know as much about Japanese culture. Right. So as an American, my first reaction is they didn't even get a fine. They're not going to give a shit. Right. Like, but my understanding for some of the folks who are more familiar with Japanese culture that I've talked with is like your honor is like a big deal over there. And so like it was a huge thing when they had the situation with the global or the guilds were all going to boycott because they were upset over Duane type thing, and they trotted out like the assistant to apologize to everyone, and the producer was like nowhere to be seen, right? Like it was sort of a big like scandal there, and so I'm wondering if this is actually going to be like a big deal where like they're not being going to be seen as like an honorable company, and maybe a big warning like this is actually a much bigger deal because of Japanese culture than it would necessarily feel like here in America.
Yeah, those are good points. How about you, Rindell? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a very interesting thing because a couple months ago, when that happened, I had the feeling that yes, they did something wrong, but the company reacted properly. Like they refunded everybody, they apologized, they people got their resources back, were able to pull again, while keeping what they got from the bad hatchers. So I felt like yes, they did a really wrong step, of course, which is why they're getting in trouble now, but they did what they could to fix the broken pieces. And then since then, there has been the Dwayne incident, but outside of that, I feel like I haven't heard at least of a lot of outrage on the JP side, and they were like trying to fix these things. So having that come back to the scene when there hasn't actually been a mistake from from Gumi's side, it's this same event that happened a year back, is probably going to bring back bad feelings from the community, even though it's not necessarily a new mistake by the company. So it's going to hurt their honor, possibly, like Minute said, and then hurt player confidence in the company, even though it's getting old news in a way. So I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I do think it's important for those agencies to do say that rules have been broken. So uh, it's good that it happens. It's just happening a bit too late, I think.
Okay. All right. Good points. The as someone who's lived in Japan for 5 years, expert. No, don't quote me on that. Please don't. Everyone, calm down. Don't need to get angry. It was a joke. But like as living here for a while, yeah, working as a community and working and essentially being friendly and talking to people, you have just your reputation a lot of the times to really focus. And gotcha is important here because for a lot of people who are, at work for long hours and whatnot, you do spend time on public transportation and you need stuff to do. And you see all the time, like the most common thing I always see on trains is people on their cell phones. There are no switches. Like people wonder why like old gaming, like why Japan doesn't buy as many PS5s anymore or PlayStations or whatnot. And it's because portable life is essentially really important here because that's where you get a lot of your time to do stuff. So um, I think that this is incredibly important and a really bad step for Gumi because one of the things here is that it not only directly like it affects the consumer. The consumer now knows more about it. People are essentially going to recognize Gumi or not so much Alum because Alum's a subsidiary, and I think people maybe don't know the difference at this point. But the sorry, I'm just getting lost for a second here. But like people know it's bad, and this is going to affect how other Japanese companies interact with Gumi, and it's also going to affect how Square Enix operates with Gumi because this is not only a hit to Gumi's reputation, this is a hit to Square Enix's reputation as a whole. This affects potentially their business holdings in different ways because this is the people that they are associating with, and they did one of the things that you are not supposed to do in Gacha if you are doing something bad, which is get caught. And they essentially did. They officially were said today, yeah, you broke gotcha law essentially, and that's really bad. And so how is this going to affect collaborations going forward? Can we see outside collaborations as much when companies are going to be like, this is how you operate. We don't need the bad press right now. We don't need that. There's other people we can collaborate. So this might hurt collaborations. What do you guys think? Minute.
Yeah, so I don't know too much about the relationship between Square Enix and Gumi, but I know that Square has a bunch of different gacha games, and many of them are not run by Gumi. Um, and so that does leave me wondering if maybe they might decide that, you know what, these other guys are much better stewards of our big IPs than Gumi is. And maybe going forward when Gumi approaches us about like the next idea for a gotcha that they want to do, we will we'll pass on that. I don't know, but I think as a consumer, that's something like we will never see the inside details of, but I think it absolutely could play a role going forward, particularly if Gumi ends up taking a financial hit at Square Enix as a result too, from the bad press associated with this. It really gives Square Enix not too much incentive to want to keep that relationship going forward.
How about you, Rindell? What do you think?
Well, I think that's a pretty good point. I hadn't actually thought of that part before you brought it up, but it's very true that, especially for those collaborations, it's associating other brands' names with or the visions, but with Gumi as well. And so, if there's a very bad perception that Gumi is bad, Gumi does illegal things, then these other brands, they're not going to want to taint them with that perception. They won't want the bad rep to like spill over these, so we might get a lot less collaborations. That is a very true danger that you've brought up, I think.
As one of our chat members have said, there's been some gaming sites also talking about the Gumi Enix blunder like Destructoid. So if it's getting some traction online, that's spreading more of the badness. And just thinking about Square Enix even as a whole over the past few years, Square Enix has been really trying to build up their reputation. I think that things like Avengers, for instance, that game has, like, not to go too far outside, but like it really is one of those things of they are trying to build up their brands and everything like that. And any time that you essentially have um these situations where you're taking that kind of hit, people automatically think about it in the future. And Square Enix's name is branded across this game as much as Gumi's is, and it's known for being Final Fantasy. And is Final Fantasy like Final Fantasy? I would say is probably Square Enix's biggest IP still worldwide. And do you really want it being tarnished by anything that you don't have to, kind of thing? So I think this is a very dangerous situation, and I'm curious about what they do going forward. And it may just be business, going forward kind of thing. But this is still not the greatest thing, and I'm always a little worried about what the repercussions of this could be. Not to be an alarmist, not to make people afraid, like WOTV's going to shut down because of this. No, but I don't know. It definitely hurts trying to get new players, and I think WOTV on the JP side has had a difficult time getting new players. So that's been my thing.
I think the point about Marvel is also really big because Marvel's owned by Disney, and Disney partners with them on Kingdom Hearts as well. And I know people would love to see Kingdom Hearts collabs in the future. And Disney does not take any chances when it comes to their image and who they associate with at all. Um, and so that is actually a really good point to bring up that relationship there, because Square has been pushing all that Marvel stuff so strongly, and a lot of that could be gone in an instant if Disney decided, you know what, this is bad for us.
Yeah, Disney is definitely one of the ones that is very protective, even kind of hilariously protective sometimes about their image, where they make changes that don't end up panning out very well for them with some of their business decisions. But we're not we're not going to discuss Disney's controversies. That's a whole different InterVisions that we can do sometimes if we want. So, anything else to say, Rindell, before we move on?
I think we've pretty much covered the topic. It's a huge deal, maybe more than we, I guess, as a North American can understand, because of the whole culture of honor and reputation having a even more important place in Japan than whatnot. So I think we don't necessarily understand just how bad it is, but I definitely get a feeling of dread about it.
All right. Well, best of luck to us all in the future. We're going to see how that goes. But a very big point. Could not ignore it this week. But it's not the only trouble that the game is hosting right now. It would be enough. But also, here is our second topic, second main topic. That's how this works now, apparently. We're having two main topics a show. The global boycott. So this week, it's pretty obvious that there was some hard feelings about some content that was dropped this week. I think it's been brought up already, but Zazin being limited, Dwan's still limited, Frivia's still limited, and a lot of people have been bringing up this idea of, oh, Zazin should have been a first copy free for everybody character because he's an anniversary character, which doesn't really hold a ton of water to me as a JP player because Classy wasn't that, and so I feel like it was pretty predictable how this was going to go. But with limiteds and everything, I don't think that a lot of globalers are very happy this week, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. So, Minute, how about you?
So I think the boycott idea is a little silly, to be completely honest. And I've heard a lot of different reasons for people to sort of be upset with the boycott. Um, and one of the things I've heard is that people are sort of tired of like the lack of content. Um, Everything's just a farm, right? Which I feel like is more of a criticism of the game in general than just what's going on right now. And the thing I'd say on sort of that front is the game hasn't changed in terms of the type of content it puts out at all in the past year and a half, right? Like we're getting farm stuff just like we got it release. I think the thing that's really different and the reason people are sort of feeling like maybe now is a good time to move on is this game dropped in the middle of the pandemic and everyone's in the lockdown and there's not a whole lot to do when you're sort of stuck at home by yourself unexpectedly. And so a lot of people jumped in and went hardcore with this game and it became sort of a big part of like the social atmosphere to help people get through what's been a pretty rough year overall. And now that things are opening up and there are more options, people are sort of like, well, like I don't find myself playing this game much anymore. And I don't know that's necessarily a fault of the developers because they haven't really done anything to sort of like earn ire there except continue to produce the game that everyone was enjoying. But I think the game hasn't kept up with the fact that some of the realities of life for people have changed in the past months, particularly in the global market. So I think that's what's sort of contributing to a lot of the feelings that are going on as people are prioritizing other things, and I think that's perfectly normal. But I do think Gumi will have to do something if they want to keep people prioritizing this game somehow.
All right, good points. And how about you, Rindo? What's your take on all of this?
Yeah, first of all, let me say I do agree that I would love a lot more content like selection quests. Bring me quests that are as difficult as this, but for my UR units, I'll be super happy, and new game mechanics. But the topic right now is mainly the Zazan controversy, so I have a couple things to say about that. First issue, yeah, it's time limited. They gave us a permanent UR vision card for free to thank us for voting. So that kind of set a precedent where they're telling us like, thank you, it's a community event. We're going to give you some nice stuff regarding this vote. So that's part of the reason why I wasn't expecting the unit itself to be time limited. We have a like UR vision card permanent that features him holding a trophy. Ah, weird. And then when we had the anniversary live stream for Global, they said that when they were going to be releasing time limited stuff, they were going to give us longer windows, and they've done that. We've had 5 weeks Final Fantasy X, 5 week Nier Automata, the rerun of Final Fantasy One is long. Why do we only have 2 weeks this time? Is it because it's global exclusive? Feels like we're kind of losing some ground here that we had won, and that was really appreciated. The fact that it came without much of a warning means that a lot of the players that are free to play that have voted for UR Zazan, that might have wanted him, will not get their chance. And if it had been running for like 4 or 5 weeks, they do have more of a chance to build up some viz and potentially pull for it more. So I think it's a combination of reasons that mean that people might be more unhappy than if it was just one of these factors. Should we boycott the game? I personally don't think so. I don't want to hurt the game much more, especially with all that we've talked about previously. But should players be disappointed about this decision? I think so, and I think so fairly.
So, like, I guess this is a question of like whether or not you guys think that, like, do you think even a boycott could work? Is the next question, I guess, to bring up into this discussion of like boycotts have been done in a lot of different properties to try and enact changes, and effectiveness is always questionable. There are some people who say, no, there's no point to it, they just don't work, and there are some people who think, yes, they do. So, what are your guys' opinion? Minute?
So I think my big opinion is I think a boycott could work. This isn't the thing that's going to get a big enough boycott, right? Like I think, like I said before, people are a little frustrated, but I mean, if we weren't going to boycott the game when it was broken for 3 months, a couple like 2 months ago, like that was a much bigger outrage, really, than oh the new unit is only available for 2 weeks, right? Like I don't know. I don't like yeah, it could have been nicer for the banners and stuff, right? We could have gotten more global festival medals. I know some people talk about like precedent. I will point out like a lot of that stuff that people are pointing to for the precedent was back around the 1 year anniversary for global when we sort of had this like month-long celebration going on, and they were really crazy generous to spenders at the time, right? Those global festival medals were like spenders were basically like, this is literally insane how easy this is for me to just max everything in sight right now. And so I I think they have like they can't give us something good like that's really special for an anniversary and then be expected to be like that's how everything is from now on, because what do they do at the next big milestone sort of thing? um and so I don't I feel like there could have been some bonuses here, like maybe some extra bingo boards, some other stuff, but overall, like maybe a little disappointing. But I don't think this is what you die. This is the hill you die on for this game, right? Like I just don't feel like this is a big enough controversy, and I think enough people feel that way that I'm not sure a boycott would be effective.
Okay. How about you, Rango?
Yeah, I would say I have some very similar feelings. Like I said, I've made a reaction video about it, and a lot of people have very mitigated opinions. They are angry, but they're not necessarily like angry, disappointed enough to go ahead and boycott the game in order for it to have an impact, especially since Global has, I feel, less pressure on Gumi than the JP side. It would have to be like a really server-wide effort. And then boycotting a gacha game, like they leverage FOMO so well. They're so apt at making people want to pull and want new things that I feel like even if a couple players, or a high amount of players, decided that they wanted to try to boycott, if they release some really good thing right afterwards, a lot of people are going to crack. They're not going to keep it up. There's nothing actually physically preventing them from doing this. So if they feel like they're going to set their accounts behind too much by skipping, I don't know how many people will actually hold on to that feeling of boycott all the way. Like usually, you do a boycott, you do it until something changes. There's not necessarily a deadline for that. I don't know. I don't know if people will actually are angry enough to pull that off.
Yeah. As a JP player too, not to be the really shitty one here or anything, but from someone who doesn't play the global side, God, you guys seem to have it cushy sometimes. Like, I'm sure that some globalers are like, well, you chose to play that. Let's not get too petty, I guess. But like the amount of medals where, like, I think of the JP side when we got UR Mont, and it was like, okay, he's half rates, he's half everything, he's still really expensive to pull and everything like that. And then, global, you guys got the medals, right? And you could trade like all of the medals to get him maxed pretty dang easily, right? So
There's a reason literally everyone has King Mont at 120
I
on the
don't.
global side, right? Like I go into my guild battles and all of the teams are like 1200 attack, 2800 or whatever magic, and I know that that's Yuna, Helena, and Amont, right? Like, and I'm scrolling through the list, and it's like the first 12 or 15 are all within that range, right? And it's because of how generous they were, like just 2 months ago, right? It's a little bit insane how easy it was for everyone to sort of build those if they spent any amount of money on the game, really.
yeah, so, but I mean, like you had a whole bunch of stuff that traded 1 to 1, right? Like one metal for one shard, and now
Yep.
this time it's like 1 to 2, and everybody's, or well, it seems like a few players are like really angry, and I'm just like, oh, cry me a fucking river from the JP side player who never had any of this. Who you guys are also getting the soul shard system like months in advance of what JP got, and it's just like, oh man, I have zero pity for the, like, at the one hand it's like, yeah, I want the consumer to benefit from this and I want things to be better for everybody. I want us all to have like fun and joy and still this game to make enough money that it keeps going. But like when people are like, oh, this the medal system is like, it's now 2 to 1, and I'm like, as JP player, that's like, what's a medal system? Can you could you refer it to anything in the game that JP has? No, because we've never had that kind of system before. It's never existed. It still doesn't exist. And on our banners, I know a whole bunch of people in my guild who have gone for Oberon this week that have gone to pity for him. So and we don't get anything else. We don't have any backup really. I mean, there's the but it still doesn't trade incredibly favorably, and it's just like I like that's why the pity this week on Oberon felt so bad, because it was like if I would have gotten him, yeah, I would have had a whole bunch of stuff to get shards with him and be LB4 or maybe on my way pretty close to LB5 by the end of his event. But now it's just like I had to pity him. I didn't get anything. He's only LB3, and it's been a really bad week. And for globalers, I get it. You guys had a really good couple of months, but ah, I don't. I just don't have that sympathy in me. The empathy is not there. File not found. Uh,
The other thing I'll add on that front, right? Like we got 9 steps for all three of the units, including two that were older, right? Which I actually thought was like a huge plus this week, because a lot of times when those things get rerun, you just get like the stock banner, right? Like go ahead and pull for Fryavia and maybe you'll get her, right? And instead you got these, well, what are actually better 9 steps than I think JP is getting these days, right? You get the Rainbow Broadstone, you get 200 shards, you get enough blossoms to max the unit, right? Decent odds of getting the unit you want if you do the full 9 step. And so I feel like the fact that like they did that for both of the older units and stuff was really nice. They had pities for all three, I believe. You could get Duane, Fravia, and Zazan all from the pity. So you could just pull in the Zazan banner to pity, and whichever one you didn't get, go grab them, right? Like the Zazan banner had I guess like the half rate up for Duane and Zazan and regular grade up for Fravia on it. So you had really great odds that any rainbows you got were going to be banner ones. I don't know. I feel like yes, it could have been better. We could have gotten like 6 paid 2K pull banners, gave us 100 medals each. That made it just like absolutely trivial to max everything in sight and completely catch up on all of our vision cards. But I also wasn't really expecting that, given that it's not the 1 year anniversary or like within a month of it anymore. Like I said, I sort of feel like this was about what I expected, no more, no less.
how about you, Rindell? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I do agree. We are very spoiled in global, and I don't think these banners are that bad. Like as you've pointed out, it's better than what JP gets, and it's still possible to pity all these units. Had there been no pity, like wow, that would have been a huge step back. Again, I think the biggest problem is not how these banners or even the festival was handled, is the fact that it's time limited, which goes against the idea, and the fact that the period is so short, which means players have to either spend money to get the Viz right now or say goodbye to this run. And sure, it's probably going to rerun in the future since there's no like legal rights issue around that. Gumi owns the entire character, but it still feels like what should have been a happy festival time is more of a rush to build a custom 100 unit.
Yeah, the someone mentioned in chat. I will say, I like the time limited thing is definitely a disappointment. Um, but I think the other thing I'll add is right. I'm sort of expecting Fravia VC next week and summer units the week after, and I sort of want to see how they handle the sort of combined thing. Right, we just got Valentine Salir, who was time limited in JP, isn't in global, right? So that's like an extra perk we got. So I feel like I wish he wasn't time limited, like Glossy wasn't, but we get different time limited things from JP sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little bit like, let's wait and see how they handle the Fravia VC and the summer units that we're expecting in 2 weeks before we get to Up in Arms, right? If those roll out poorly, sure, like let's talk about a boycott once we've seen what that looks like. But for all we know, the Fravia VC next week is free, right? Like we don't know what they're gonna do with all of that stuff. So I'm sort of in a like, let's see what happens in this stretch and how bad it really is
Yeah.
before we get too up in arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to add on that. Let's wait until we see how we can get Global Festival medals next week with the new banners that are going to be released, because I'm pretty sure there will be new ways to get those medals outside of just pulling on the regular banners.
Yeah, I want to add on to that of just being like the limited thing of us, like literally. Okay, obviously, I am not the biggest fan of Salir, regular or otherwise, in anything other than a utility unit kind of thing. I really don't care for her at all. Yeah, clip that. Go for it. But in all honesty, like seeing you guys get like, for instance, the Frederica Vision card, it has been limited forever on JP, and it's one of the very few good Thunder cards. Like, yeah, we have Cloud, but that's limited still. Like, it's so frustrating when, like, as a JP player, and then you guys get like a limited Frivia and Duan and Zazen, and again, it's just like, no, let me get like tiny violin. Where is it? Oh, damn it! I keep losing it because it's so tiny.
Yeah,
I think people would be a lot less excited for Zazan right now if Secrets of the Heart was a time limited card on Global. And the fact that it isn't drastically improves Zazan significantly. And so I think people need to remember that like we get things that aren't time limited, that we're time limited in JP. So you can't always go like, look at their thing that I've decided is the one-to-one comparison.
Yeah, Secrets of the Heart is exactly where I was going to go as well. This is what enables the evasion archetype, and is still, I think, time limited on the JP side, which means unless you land on the right time period, you can't even build an evasion archetype. It's like, it's really different. So there are some things that we have that we take for granted, but are actually really good.
Oh God, I forgot about Secrets of the Heart. The ketones not. It's the ketone not getting any card. That's what I usually call that. I forget it even has a title. It's just like ketones. Like, I gave Mont this gift, and Mont's just like, neat, throws it away, and it's just like, unrequited love sucks, doesn't it? But we also have one more thing in for this discussion, which is from Diggs himself, who is not here today because he is sitting by the front door waiting for his PS5. There you go, Diggs. There's your shout out. But thanks so much for donating this. Diggs hosted a post with a poll on it about the WOTV boycott with 1.7k votes, which is not a small number in terms of what you could get from the community. You could definitely get, that's more results than I think you get from the official Reddit kind of thing. But like 48% yes, 52% no, 86 comments. This is that's a lot of votes. What do you guys think about this? It seems to be very split in the community right now. So, Rindell, how about you?
Yeah, I did say comments to my video were all like half and half. Lots of people are for, lots of people are against. There's something to take into account when you see those votes. The people that, first of all, are on YouTube and are on Reddit are people that are more invested than the majority of the players into the game. The people that will actually take time to vote into these things are also more invested. So I think if this was a mandatory vote, like before you log into the application and you have to take a choice, although that would not make sense for InterVisions to promote that, but I think we would see a lot less no and people that don't care as much. Because I think the population that's going to be the kind of people to vote onto these things are more sensible to what's going on. But I'm surprised to see that many votes for yes, honestly, especially since we've spoken about the boycott idea just now.
And how about you, Minute? What do you think?
So, my background is in software development and building tools that people use. And one of the things I've sort of learned over the years is you can't always take people at their word about what they want. You have to see what they actually do with the thing you put in front of them. And so I'm a little hesitant to trust a poll where it's very easy to say like yes here, um, but the follow through is a lot harder, right? And I look at these numbers and I go, okay, 48% are gonna spend, so start spending less. 52% are sort of like, man, I'll keep going as I have been. And so when Cloud drops and 52% of the player base pulls for him, how strong is that other 48% really going to stay? Is sort of, and so I think like, well, what's the phrase? The proof is in the pudding, right? Like, are people actually going to change their behavior here? I'm somewhat skeptical.
Well, I do believe that there are three states of a consumer, which is the when they look at a product and they look at the price tag, and there's the percentage that will look at the product and the price and is happy with it and will spend kind of thing, right? And then there is a percentage of the consumer base that will look at the product and the price and not spend, and they're fine with it kind of thing, right? But I think that there's another part that people forget about, which is the people who are not happy with it but are going to spend anyway. Like this is one of those things of like Hearts. I bring this up so much because Hearthstone's one of the games I play so much, and it's frequently asking for more money as the TCG does kind of thing. But with the pre-order bonuses, that has like every pre-order bonus for every expansion comes with like a character in it and a tavern pass for a different game mode, and it's like you may not care about that game mode, but the cards are essentially cheaper than buying them normally. So there are people who will just be like, cool, I get all this extra stuff, and if I use it, fine, whatever, I like playing this game, this is one of my main games, so just go with it or whatever. But there's the people who are just like, I'm not happy I have to get this extra stuff. Why can't it be cheaper? But then they buy it anyway because what's the option? There is no option. There is no WOTV 2 where it's like, oh, it's made by a slightly different company. There is no competition per se. If WOTV's the type of game you want to play with Final Fantasy characters in it, then you really don't have that option. So this is where I find that the poll breaks down a little bit of it doesn't give the option of I'm not happy, but I'll still pay anyway, which people may not even be very happy to admit kind of thing. But then this doesn't give a breakdown into what percentage of people voting are free to players, what percentage are dolphins, what percentage are whales, because the votes in terms of their importance, like if 48% was all high tier whales in this vote, which actually that would be about 1,000 people spending at whale level, so let's pretend that doesn't exist. But if a vast majority of the yeses were super whales, this poll would hold so much more weight to it than it currently does, because there just isn't enough information. Not to say that Diggs made a bad poll. I think the polls that you can do here are just very simplistic, but like there's so much information that we are not getting. JP had a successful boycott in a day's time, essentially, where the top guilds said no more to double cost 100s, and immediately, like the next day, it was changed. That's how much power we do still have, but it needs to be organized for a certain group of people in this game, because if the yeses are all just free to players, doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, and so the thing I'll add on that front is I know Diggs is working on a video for Sunday where he's gathering feedback from what you just said, right? Some of the top guilds, how they're all feeling about the game, and is sort of going to put it all together in sort of like one video with like what are people's thoughts, how are they feeling about the game, and I think that will be a bit more interesting to see, right? Because you'll have some of the like guild leaders from some of the big guilds that are the whale guilds chiming in on what they're hearing from their players, etc. And that's a bit more meaningful, I think, than 1,700 random people who I don't know who they are.
Yep. How about you, Rindell?
Yeah, it's definitely true. I mean, if there was a like I don't know a signed agreement from all the whales that there was going to be a change, then that would definitely have an impact. But like I said previously, I don't. I think right now it's like the end of the wave. There's been the Reddit post. It's been a couple days. People are reading about it still. There's some discussion, but my expectation is that by this time next week, people will have forgotten about that.
Yeah. I mean, JB, global players are going to have to really. I mean, they're if you're championing it, you got to get the whales on your side. Like that will make a difference. But in terms of fairness between the versions as a JP player, I just don't have the sympathy. I think, and I haven't made a video about it because I can't per se. Like it's just going to be incredibly negative, and I just don't want to do that kind of video of it just being like I don't have the sympathy over the metal thing, like zero, because we never got it. We still haven't got it. You guys are getting souls. Like you essentially have so many ways of building so many characters. So Zazin is limited, and it's just like I have no crocodile tears for you guys. You guys essentially are have gotten so many benefits that we haven't, and I'm sitting here this week with a really bad pull experience, so probably just a bad week, but uh I wish I could care more has been my opinion this week on the whole global outrage of it just being like, aw, it's limited. Oh, must feel so bad for you. Guess in 2 weeks' time when we have the beach units, you can feel bad for us.
And I'll also add, right, like part of me really wonders how many of the yes votes in this poll pulled on the Zazan banner.
Yeah.
Right, like because if you pulled on the Zazan banner, you're not a yes vote because Gumi's poll numbers show that you pulled. So
No.
I think that the only other thing I'll really say on this topic is, as I mentioned before, right, the world is opening up again. There are other things to do, and if the game isn't doing it for you anymore, you should absolutely move on and go enjoy all that life has to offer. Don't stay with a game that you're not happy playing, hoping it's going to get better, because it's not going to get better if you just keep playing it when you're not happy with it. So get like show that like please, like if you really are done with the game, move on and let them see the metrics so that they can decide if they're going to take action or not. But as long as everyone sort of sticks around being unhappy, still spending, Gumi will keep producing the game they're producing.
Good points. Very good points. Rindell, any last thoughts on this before we close that out?
I guess I'll move on to something a little bit different from that, but that also works into the topic, and it's my hope and what would drive me to spend more onto War of the Visions, and a bit like minutes say, just stay hooked to the game, is having, I'll put it this way, like if every 2 weeks I have 2 to 3 hours of new and engaging content I can play, I'll be down to pull. I won't care as much if the banners aren't that good because I'll be like doing more than farming and whatnot. Currently in War of the Visions, there's like two moments that I look forward to in a month. It's going to be the new selection quest and the class match season. It's when I actually like really play the game and enjoy myself a lot. And so if there was something to do on every week of the month that felt to me like a super good time, then having something like banners that I don't like as much and whatnot would not be that terrible because it would not be the only highlight I have in my week. I would have a lot of other things that I would enjoy in the game, and this would just be like, okay, don't care about this banner. I'll just do the content. So I think that's an angle that would help.
The thing I'll add to that, and that I've said before, and I can't stress it enough, permanent content in the game would be fantastic. Selection quests are a great step forward on that front, right? They will always be there. They are challenging. You can build MRs for them, right? Give I want the same thing for my URs. Give me some sort of hard content with missions. Doesn't even have to have good loot at the top. Give me some cool title or something, or a skin or anything like that, and just make it scaled for a full team of 120 units and put it in the game and make it really hard. And if I can't clear it for a couple months, fantastic. It gives me something to work towards. That would be great.
Yeah, that actually does exist on the JP side. It is the actually I might be even able to bring it up since we have BlueStacks open today. It's in the wrong spot, but let's just bring it up here, which is the Golem challenge, for instance, or even the Christ challenge. Actually, there's both of these have level 120 version, or well, they're considered job level 22, level 115 content, but sure, they're level 120 content, but again, time limited. For what reason? They're actually incredibly difficult and really hard to beat in the time frame, but they have massive amounts of rewards, and some of them are even for vision cards, which are you can't get in the gacha right now. They're literally vision cards you get from the raid, and then you get the shards from doing the missions, but they're just they don't they're gone in like a couple of weeks, and it's like, why isn't this permanent, or why eventually is it not changed to permanent content? Because so who cares if Christ is always obtainable in the game? That seems like a good thing. Why does everything in this game have to be time limited and only available for like so many days? Like, bring it back, make it permanent. There's level 115. It just sucks that everything is just limited in this game. People shouldn't even be mad about limited characters so much as limited content.
I'd love to see Trials of Reckoning stuff brought back. Like throw away the farm component of it and just give us like some levels that are Trials of Reckoning style, where you have like specific bonus units and a leaderboard that just always exists. And people can like just over time, like months, try to get higher and higher up the leaderboard, constantly improving their scores as new units come out. Like that would be really cool to me. Um, but I just don't see why a lot of this stuff's limited and why we can't have like interesting content like that just around permanently, so that there's always something to do, always something to try to improve on.
All right. So, Randall, do you have something to say?
I would say, well, I basically began the topic on content that we had to play, and I think you nailed it. That kind of content you just spoke about, I can't wait for that. I'm just waiting for occasions to die to the game, like challenge me. So this seems really fun. Would be better if it's permanent because it would give like newer players building their team things to look forward to. Like the bread and butter of this game is building new units and building new vision cards. It's the whole concept revolves around that. And right now, why do we build units? It's to compete in guild battles and in arena, I guess, and class matches. But for most content, at least that we have right now in global, you don't need anything. You can clear the story with a cast of 99 units without much trouble. So it feels like we're farming for something and we're just waiting for it to come.
Waiting for almost
Yeah,
2 years.
I actually think not a lot of people have mentioned this, but I think the biggest thing to be upset about with the global banners we just got is the fact that we got these units and there's no content coming where they're relevant. Right? Like, I don't know where I'm going to use Zazan in PvE. I don't know where I'm going to use Fravia in PvE. Right? They're not featured for raids. They're not featured for Trials of Reckoning. Like, unless we're getting something in the next week or so that's like a global original event, right? Like, I really like the units and I wanted them, but what am I going to use them for? Is definitely a question I'm asking myself.
So everyone who watches this video on Twitch, please watch it again on YouTube for metrics. But also, if you could also send this video, if you use any social media or you know Justin, who is apparently the content, is one of the in-betweens between the community and the developers, please send him this video segment because I think he needs to hear it. I think the developers really do need to see this because it is the best WOTV podcast talk show thing. But
Absolutely.
regardless, yeah, I think that they just need to hear these points from because this is the community that distilled in a way, kind of. So definitely spread it. Anyway, but that's enough talking about this topic. I think we could go on for a while, but we're going to cut it because we're going to do just a short Q&A today because it is the long weekend and I think our guys want to get some rest and relaxation, like Diggs, who wouldn't be here tonight. But no shade against Diggs. He's waiting by the door for that PS5. Anyway.
I love that he still doesn't know what kind of PS5 he's getting.
Oh my God, really? All right. Well, a couple of questions. First of all, from Raymond 2030, if you were a unit, would you be a healer, tank, DPS, or something else? Now, I want you guys to answer this, but I don't want you to put too much thought because this was actually going to be a future segment in a future InterVisions episode. So, Minute, what about you?
I'm a big boy, so I'm definitely a tank.
Oh yeah, and what? We'll go a little bit further. What element would you be, and what are your sub jobs?
See, now I think you've got a good segment here because this is going to require a little bit of
Oh
pre-thought.
no, there's good. We are going to do this again. It's just there's going to be more time put into how we do this. This one's just quick.
Okay, okay. We're gonna go with let's see, paladin, um, pugilist, and arithmetician.
Okay, and what element?
And we will say, let's go with ice.
Ice. Okay, all right. Ice tank on the competition with Agrius. I like it. All right, and minute or
And Fravia.
and Frivia. I see the evil plan here. And how about you, Rindell? What about you? What's your character?
That's a good question. First of all, let me say I would totally pull for Minute. That would be an awesome unit. I have a pretty huge martial arts background, so I need to have a combat discipline in my unit. I would be Wind. I think as a person that fits with me a little bit a little bit better. And let's see, job combination. Let's go for something fun. Main job, pugilist. Sub jobs, white mage, specifically with the full life nodes. So you can have somebody going in punching and then bringing their allies back to life. And then what's the last job? assassin because I want a defense penetration passive, and then the flexibility that a class with AP drain and some tricky moves would bring. That would be something. I don't know if that would fit.
All right. As for good answers, as for me, I don't know. I'm thinking something of like a main class being a dragoon. I hold on a second. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
just look up what Oberon is,
Hold
because
on.
that's you.
Sub job. I don't know. Viking. Maybe tertiary job. Something like Nightblade. I don't know. That's just my thoughts about it. And I don't know. For
Yeah.
element, I'm thinking water because there's this other water spear unit. I feel like she's been treated really badly, not only by the game, but by this her dick ex almost ex-boyfriend, and I feel like she needs some support. So I'm gonna say that yeah, like dragoon, spears, water element. I don't know, just seems to fit me like a glove. Let's just go with that for today.
Oh man.
She even changed her element to make him happy, and he's still not interested.
I know, what a douchebag. Anyway, next question from CG Arixu, which I'm going to pretend that I actually said that name properly as I do every Twitch stream for anybody. How long should meta comps last? What do you think? Do you think they should last for years, decades, centuries, maybe a week? What are you guys' thoughts? Rindell, how about you first?
All right, so I think there's two dimensions to that. If we talk team comps, like the same three units, I think the same three units should not remain dominant for more than a month or so. Otherwise, it becomes really stale. Like if a month from now, I still see Yuna, Dwayne, King Mont, and Black Witch Helena as the main units in every team, the game has not progressed. That's not good. But I do think units should maintain some relevance, like some little edge that they have that make them unique and make them worth having, and they should maintain that relevance for over a year. Like every unit should be designed with some little thing in mind where like they're like the best. I don't know, like let's say Derma. She has such a shitty kit, but her limit break is still very unique, and in some content, it's still really good. So every unit should have that little bit of relevance that is maintained throughout their lifetime.
All right.
I've maxed Yerma's LB.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Yay! All right, Minute. What do you think? How long should they be relevant or meta?
I think I think I agree with Rindell, right? It needs to last long enough that you feel like you got your investments worth. Um, and ideally it'll still be like relevant after that for a while. But I honestly I'm getting tired of like literally I go into guild battle and I don't even want to try because it's like everyone across from me is the same comp, right? Like I don't know. Like it really kills sort of my interest in doing much guild battle wise, right? And so I'd really like to see that just broken up a lot more regularly.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm going to say that they should be meta for 1 day. Actually, no, that's not entirely fair. But from my background in card games, especially Yu-Gi-Oh, one of the things I would love to see in the game, because I think that as soon as you change what's meta, you automatically change the value of a unit, right? Like as you guys were saying, you want to make sure you get your money's worth out of a unit. I think we should have a ban list where some weeks units are potentially banned. They might have to make the game more generous to accommodate this idea. But I feel like if you had a week where like Mont is banned from Guild War and PvP, then you really make people have to choose other units. Like I know they kind of do that with limited, but I think we need like more of a flexible changing thing every week. Like they always have bonus units, have a ban unit, have a ban list every once in a while. Because
Yeah. So I'll add on to that, right? Like you mentioned limited guild battle. Global, I don't think it's had a second one yet, have we? I definitely don't remember the last time that event occurred, but I really wish we could get that mechanic and they could do more interesting things with the limited stuff, like either a ban list or like specific elements only or something along those lines.
How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, it's something that I've been thinking would be really cool, especially coming from a guy who really loves manual class matches. Having ban options is really interesting. The one reason why I haven't really talked about it as being a good option is because of how much it takes to build like maxed out units with their own specific vision card and farming their specific equipment. And I know a lot of players in whatever kind of competitive PvP community don't have many options that are built all the way and they have to make do with what they have. So if we were to add a ban mechanic, we would need to be way more generous with free-to-play players and newer players because they don't yet have a really huge roster to actually adapt to those rules. So it would really just help the paying players, I guess, change their teams and change things around. But for somebody who's invested like 3 months of savings into maxing King Mont, seeing him banned would be really, really unfortunate.
Fair enough. And okay, last question because we're running out of time. I've kept you guys for too long. This is the easiest question in the entire world, I think, from Kurano80, but it's still a good question. I'm not picking on you, Kurano. I'm just saying. What are your thoughts on drop rates for mats and the amount needed for crafting equipment? I will do this very quickly. For my opinion, it's bad. It's too much. It's bad. I hate it. Please reduce it by like 92% to make my life so much better. How about you, Rindell?
I mean, how many hours have I spent just clicking repeat and whatnot? I haven't actually used an auto clicker, probably should do that. I do think there is a strategical aspect to it for more of the Vision's planning, because if you spend 8 hours a day farming in a game, the game will then have a lot of importance for you because like you're spending so much time in it, you're always seeing it. So you might be more eager to spend into it indirectly, just even subconsciously because you see it so much. But man, as a player, it's become a core to farm for +5 items. It's just crazy. So I wish there was an easier way to do that. I know they're introducing that by spending viz. You can get +5 versions and whatnot. And I feel like that's good, but it's something that I've seen happen so often in War of the Visions where they create a problem and then sell the solution. And I don't really like that. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Minute?
I'll, as long as a BlueStacks is stable and they keep throwing energy pots at me, I don't really care too much. But I think it's a little silly that most of my time playing the game, I'm nowhere near the game.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. I'm going to just say one last thing on this topic, which is Global got a way to buy a +5 version of Icebrand. You guys have it pretty damn cushy over there. I'm just gonna. That's. I don't know. I feel.
I already have 2 +5 ice brands, and I farm them just buying the recipes. So I feel like it's a little too late.
Look.
You need 3 ice brands. You got Gilgamesh, Agrius, and Fraevia.
I don't have Agrius, so I guess I'm safe.
Oh, for now. Agrius next month.
Agrius EX is the next EX job I am almost as hyped as Fraevia for.
Yeah, we will. I think it's coming back next month. That'll be the next InterVisions. If we don't have a mid-month one, I've talked about doing some other things with InterVisions, but that is neither here nor there at the moment. So that concludes this month's episode. Well, this episode of InterVisions, and I want to thank both Minute Hour and Rindell for joining me and doing a wonderful job as per what is becoming the usual. Not Diggs because he wasn't here tonight, so we're just gonna say that. And Orange J wasn't here to defend Eileen's honor, so she's trash as well. And
I agree, trash unit.
Oh, there you go. All right, the glove has been thrown down. We shall see if there shall be anything that comes of it. But is there any? This is always the part of the episode where I want my other guests to plug anything that you guys are doing next week, any videos or content that you really want people to know about. Go for it, Rindell, you first.
I mean, I don't necessarily have something planned for next week specifically. I'll be playing around with Fryavia a lot more. If you guys don't know me by now, I mean, you can check Rindell on YouTube. You'll find me there. I mainly make PvP-oriented War of the Vision videos, trying to feature units that aren't too meta. So that's mainly what I do. And then one last thing to point out, we did have a vote about who would win the debate on killing Zazan. I saw the results pass as we were going, and I got my ass kicked by Minute. So, Minute, you win yet again.
Congratulations, Minute.
I will say, you sold me on the you sold me on the Gilgamesh for the re-raise removal. I hadn't considered that aspect of things, so I might give your team a shot too.
All right, so you guys are both winners. Congratulations! But for all intents and purposes of the InterVisions episode, yes, I was going to say that pretty quickly here. But Minute Hour is the winner by Chat's design. However, if you are watching this on the YouTube, please throw your support to whoever you thought did better in that segment as well, because yes, we're filming this on Twitch because it makes it pretty easy, but YouTubers matter as well, provided that you're fairly nice in the comment section. Anyway, Minute Hour, what do you got going on this week? Go ahead.
So this week I will be looking forward to hopefully Friday VC next week. At which point I will be absolutely giddy. I assume much like Rindell will be.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll probably just be doing some farming over the next week on Twitch. You can find me on Twitch as Minute Havoc. And I've been playing a lot of Demon Souls lately. So if you disagree with the things I've been saying on this stream and you want to see me suffer, that is a great opportunity for you.
Excellent. Yes. By all means, watching Demon Souls is a ton of fun. I think that lots of gamers enjoy watching that. So, as always, I have to say, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, in the description section, there will be a link to both of these guys' content. Please go follow them, give them likes, subscriptions, money, your kidneys, anything that you guys can offer up to these guys. A goat, sure, anything. Just do that. Please support our content creators for WOTV, because regardless of how good the game is, the community, for the most part, as well as our content creators, are fantastic. But that brings us to the end of this episode, so I'd like to thank everyone for watching, my guests for joining us, and remember to be kind to other people, enjoy your time playing the game, have some fun, and build whatever character you really want, because we're all sick of the metas of UR-Mod.
And I just wanted to also add, thank you for having us, Umbra. This has been, once again, an absolute blast. And I will say, doing some of these collaboration type events with other content creators has been some of the most fun I've had in this game. So appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Oh yeah, totally agree. I was looking forward to it. Last time we were this specific batch, I had a ton of fun, and I was looking forward to that. It was just as good as I imagined. So thanks again for organizing all this.
Oh, no worries. It's a pleasure to do this, and it's an honor to share the time with such wonderful people. But yeah, we gotta do a few other things in the future. Maybe we're looking at potentially some other games. Among Us, Mario Party with the Switch would be kind of fun. There's all kinds of different. Final Fantasy 14, I think, is the most obvious one because I think most everyone plays it. But yeah, anyway, so we'll give a wave and a see you all in the next episode of InterVisions, and all of you have a great Canada Day weekend. And I guess a 4th of July weekend too. You know, I'm Canadian, so not biased even a little bit. See you guys next time. Okay, we're done.
All right, we're cut.
We're cut.
We can finally go ahead and cry.
Yes, you can cry as much as you want. Thank you guys. I know it's a busy, long weekend, so people's schedules are kind of tough, but thanks for joining me for this.
Oh yeah. It's so stressful being live. I don't have that experience usually.